On January 14th, 2022, Brockhampton announced they were breaking up. It has been over 3 years since that announcement, and I found myself wondering what each member is doing now. I'll be covering what all 6 of the onstage performers have been up to, as well as a little bonus portion at the end with what their main producer and designer have done too. With that said, let's get into it. First, let's start off with Kevin Abstract. Kevin was the de facto leader of Brockhampton, and he also had the most successful solo career amidst the group's rise. In a post-Brockhampton era, Abstract wasted little time releasing music. His first release was a song with Baird that came out in between the group's last performance and their final album, titled Easy V2. Before he would go on to put anything else out on his solo project though, Kevin had some work to do. He took it upon himself to complete the band's record deal, which had 2 albums remaining on it. This led him to compiling old songs that had been floating around for a while, TM, into making what essentially was a solo album, venting about the group's experiences at large with the project The Family, to close out the Brockhampton chapter for good. 1 year later, Kevin returned with the single Blanket, which would go on to become the title track for a more grungy rock album. At the time of making this video, none of the songs from that album sit in his top 10 most listened to songs on Spotify. But the album served as the perfect symbol to show fans that Kevin won't always make music that sits in the box the band created. After Blanket ran its course though, Kevin did return to the melodic rap sound with a song called Tennessee featuring Lil Nas X. He then contributed to the star-studded Talking Heads tribute album and put out one more song of his own titled Big Dog. As far as performing goes, Kevin opened for Glass Animals on tour and even played some of his favorite Brockhampton tracks. He performed at Coachella, and most recently, he dropped a YouTube-only song called Miss the Moment. Now, on to Matt Champion. Matt is the only other Brockhampton member that had a successful solo project to fall back onto, with his song Fangs sitting at nearly 80 million streams on Spotify, still being his most popular song to this day. That song came out in 2017, during the same year as the Saturation trilogy, but Matt stayed completely silent otherwise until 2024. His break from releasing music on his solo project lasted 7 years, and he came back with the song Aphid featuring Dejan. Shortly after that, he released Slug, as well as another collaboration with K-pop superstar Jennie, Slow Motion. This trio of tracks would end up being the pre-release singles for an album called Mika's Laundry that Champion was working on for nearly 3 years prior to its release. If you're wondering where the beginning of this album starts in the Brockhampton timeline, this was the same year that the group released Roadrunner. Mika's Laundry was my personal favorite album to drop in the calendar year of 2024, and it was supported by a visual world that was carefully crafted and released on YouTube. Every song had an accompanying visual, and this level of calculated artistry was extremely refreshing and exciting to see from Matt's re-emergence as a solo act. The videos included boy band-esque dancing, earthy imagery, and an attention to detail that leaves fans with an entire world to get lost in. Outside of this album, Matt released 4 more singles and an entire EP titled Slint's Favorite, and he has started to perform at a limited number of shows in LA, New York City, London, and at Tyler the Creator's Camp Flognaw. He also continued his collaborative streak, enlisting Deb Never on Ash, working with Dijon again as a producer on Faye, and teaming up with Romil Hemnani, one of Brockhampton's main producers that we'll get to later, on SPJ. Up next is the person who made potentially the most polarizing move of any member so far, Merlyn Wood. Merlyn's solo career prior to Brockhampton followed a similar timeline to Matt Champion's. His first release was in 2016, he followed that up with another track in 2017, and then he began dropping consistently from the end of 2021 onwards. Merlyn's most recent run of releases includes between 5 to 10 songs on his own or with other collaborators, but the one I wanted to mention in this video was in 2023. This was the year that he dropped an album with the exiled member of Brockhampton, Ameer Vann. Ameer was the face of all 3 Saturation albums, but he got kicked out of the group for a variety of reasons and allegations, most of which you could learn from listening to Dearly Departed off of Ginger. No member of Brockhampton had publicly worked with Ameer since he was removed from the group, but Merlyn changed that trend with their joint project, Slime in the Ice Machine. This was, and still is, an extremely controversial move, and it rightfully sent shockwaves through the music community at large. Outside of his work with Ameer, though, Merlyn has continued to release music, and he has performed a handful of times, including a show this past October with Group Therapy, Malaya, and Johnny Yukon. Now it's time to move away from the controversy and to talk about the 4th member of the group, Joba. Joba's solo career was very minimal prior to joining the group, with only one song to his name, titled Sad Saturdays. During Brockhampton's tenure, Joba also featured on a Blood Orange track called Take It Back, but other than that, his focus remained mainly on the band. He didn't release as quickly as the aforementioned members, but in 2024, Joba put out a pair of singles titled American Fever and People Need People, both of which would later end up on his debut album, Russell Boring. This project was a massive step to cement him as a solo artist, but outside of that, Joba has remained relatively silent. He was very active on socials during the rollout of Russell Boring, but it is unknown as to what his next move will be. His last post on Instagram was an interview he did with the publication titled Brick the Mag, and prior to that, he shared the sheet music to his song American Fever in October of 2024. Now, for our final member that has released solo work, Dom McLennon. Dom's story as a publishing solo artist started much earlier than the rest of the members, with his first single coming out in 2012, Mad World. This song came out roughly 12 months after Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City, if you're wondering if there's a connection there. McLennon released 2 songs a year from 2013 to 2016, but once his song Aurora came out in the same year as the Saturation trilogy, he was silent until 2023. 2023 did end up being Dom's most successful period as a solo artist though, when he returned on the song Already Over with Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park and his second group, Fort Minor. He has continued to release prolifically since that time, but the majority of his work hasn't caught any virality outside of his core fanbase. Dom's most notable moment so far was a freestyle with On the Radar, and he has also been quote-unquote purging his hard drive with music that was recorded years ago for fans to enjoy. Last but not least is Bearface. Bearface was a strong part of the melodic team that graced most Brockhampton bridges and hooks, but he remained one of the most mysterious members of the group throughout their time together. He spoke almost solely through the music, and when he talked, you listened. Bearface, or Kieran as he would most likely prefer to be called now, only has 2 songs out on his artist page, and notably, neither of them were directly his own song. 1:45 AM was made with No Rome, and Dio was made with Boy Life, leaving fans wondering when he would take his own solo career in stride. This notion was put to bed though with the release of Brockhampton's final album, The Family. The project was executive produced by Bearface and a small team around him, and he had a long but heartfelt message to share about his time working on it. To paraphrase, he shared that having the final album for their band be sang almost entirely by the one who founded it was the most fitting way for the group to go out. He also shared that this was the most Brockhampton way for it to happen, sincerely and loudly. The long note also shared that it was time for him to hang up the name Bearface because it is, quote, truly the dumbest name ever, and it sometimes may feel like the bane of my existence, end quote. You can read the whole message for yourself on his Instagram, @Bearfacington, or you can pause the video to do so here. While his artist name may have been retired, he has still been in and around the music scene. This can be seen from his co-writing on Aphid by Matt Champion in 2024, but outside of that, he has easily been the most silent member of the lot. Those were all of the onstage performers, but here are a few quick hits for a couple other members that fans grew to love. HK, or Henock Shileshi, was the group's main designer alongside Kevin, and he has since worked with other artists on their visual identity and merchandise, including Role Model, Omar Apollo, and Gunna. In yet another crossover since the band broke up, he has also worked with both Kevin Abstract and Matt Champion. Lastly is Romil Hemnani. Romil produced the majority of Brockhampton's work over the years, and since then, he has worked with Tyler the Creator on Thought I Was Dead. He produced for both Matt Champion and Kevin Abstract, as well as for Future, The Dare, and most recently, for the 2-pack of songs by Daniel Caesar and Rex Orange County. All in all, Brockhampton was the epicenter of a sub-generation's taste. Some of today's most influential artists, like Billie Eilish, even considered them to be one of their favorite groups at one point in time. The impact the band had will never be forgotten, and I hope this video served as a way to get you up to speed on what they've been up to now. I would also love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you have any intel on what's next for Bearface, I would love to know that too. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to help me reach a larger audience, and check out my deep dive on Mac Miller's Balloonerism if you're looking to learn more about possibly the last posthumous project that we will get from one of the greatest artists of our time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.